All right, my name's Brandon Teskey of the blues rock band Teskey, and you're listening to Talking Blues.
So, in dealing with you the last few days, I've come to realize that Phoenix has two different time zones, or has a unique time zone situation, which I didn't know about.
Yeah, we don't do the whole chopping off an hour at the top and putting it back on the bottom and calling it something different.
Has that always been the case since you lived there?
Yeah, it's been. I don't know when they decided to do away with daylight savings, or if they ever had it even, but it's always been the case. So, because my family's from California, so half the time they're like an hour behind, and half the time we're in the same time. So,
I have to tell you, in arranging this interview, I was nervous that I was like, I hope I didn't screw this up between the time difference, but I managed to hit the right time, I think. So,
yeah.
how long have you lived in Phoenix?
Um, Probably about like 18 years now. So yeah, I came out for college and just stayed. So
And then you went to college for music, correct?
I started out at music, going to ASU, and then I quickly realized that I was either going to get this degree and hate playing, or I was going to get a degree in something else and continue to love playing and love what I was doing. And yeah, and music was too important for me to hate it. So I kind of and the style of music. I mean, learning classical and jazz. Like I love jazz and I love classical, but it's not primarily what I do, and so it was becoming more of a chore and a job, and yeah, I just wanted to be able to love the music I played. So at the end of the day, I got a degree in something else, but I got about halfway through. It was like 2 years in the music program. So
Well, that's interesting. So, do you remember how you came to that conclusion that this could be detrimental to my love of music?
yeah, I think just waking up and knowing I was miserable, and then like I was beginning, like I think I came back to I was living at the dorm my first year, and I just looked at my guitar and I wanted to play, but I couldn't. It was hard for me to will myself to pick it up, to just play music I loved, because I had basically been playing music I liked, but I wasn't in love with, and I was just kind of like, okay, well, this isn't working for me. So
That's interesting. I
yeah,
mean, okay, so you started pretty early. You picked up the guitar like at 11 or something like that?
yeah, I was 11 years old when I started playing.
And how did that come about?
Um, I think I I think was into music even as a kid. I was started out very much into like my parents' music, which was kind of like classic rock. Um, but I think like even as a kid, I had like toy guitars and like those guitars that little nylon string miniature guitars, and I didn't learn much, but I think my parents knew at a young age I was into music, and had a inclination towards that. So I think they got me a saxophone when I was 8, and I hated it. And I think even when my dad got me the saxophone, I remember at the music store looking over at the guitars, being like, I wish I could get that. Um, but I think I needed it for school anyways, and they didn't have guitar. It was just that was one of the instruments that you could do at school. So, but some years went by, and then eventually I got like really into music, and then I convinced my parents to get me a guitar, and then I just started playing like crazy and never put it down. So, um,
At that point, what were you playing? Like, what kind of music were you into?
so I was my my dad was big into like Bruce Springsteen and Bob Seger and music like that, and he had like a whole bunch of old uh, records around, like everything from Bob Dylan to like all that stuff. But once I started picking up and playing guitar, like you go to the big names in the guitar world, and Eric Clapton was one of those, uh, and yeah, Jimi Hendrix was one of those, and Led Zeppelin, and so I started gravitating towards more guitar oriented music, and that just kind of led me down the path to who influenced these guys. And then I started getting more into blues. Like, okay, BB King obviously was a big influence on these guys, and Freddie King and Albert King, and then I just started going down the rabbit hole of who influenced those people, and got into like Muddy Waters and Robert Johnson and Son House, and just went further back in time to try and just piece it all together. And I, when in doing that, I just started having, I guess, a pretty big array of musical influences that kind of influenced my playing, and took me from one direction to another.
Did that? I mean, I can see that, or I can hear that in your playing. But did learning all those different types of blues, did that come easy to you?
Um, it it did for me, just because I wasn't, it wasn't hard. Like, I was just having fun while learning. I was I mean, it's it was hard in one sense, especially like picking up like slide guitar and trying mimicking like Delta blues players. Like,
Yeah.
that's usually not something that comes that easy. But I mean, I was in love with what I was doing, so it wasn't hard for me. So
And you actually joined a blues band like pretty early, like when you were 15 or something, right?
yeah, yeah, I was in a blues band in Southern California, and yeah, we were. It was headed by Griff Hamlin, was kind of running the show for that band, um, and he's a guitar player. He's out of Texas now, but yeah, I was singing and playing yeah, at 16. We like played the coach out, which was pretty cool because I had seen like Buddy Guy and Jimmy Vaughn play there, and George Thorogood, and we got to play there, which was kind of cool for a 16-year-old. So
But you must have been pretty good to be able to play with a band of people who were much older than you.
yeah, well, I mean, maybe for a 16-year-old, but I mean, I I've also never been satisfied with my playing. I always want to get better and better. So like I'll for me to say that I'm good is kind of a hard thing for me to do, because I don't even want to do that now.
Okay, so you play with this blues band, you're 15, 16 years old. At one point or another, you decide, I want to go to university and
Yeah.
pursue music. I presume by this time you were a bit into jazz and classical music.
Yeah, I was a bit into classical. I was more into jazz, because one of the big things that kind of happened in my playing life is somewhere along the lines in high school. I listened to Scott Henderson, his record Dog Party, and his other record Tore Down House, and to me, still to this day, it's like some of my favorite blues playing I've ever heard. And yeah, Scott was, he definitely drew on jazz influences. I think he was Chick Corea's guitar player for a while, and there was a whole lot of, so he's as much probably more so of a fusion jazz guy than he is a blues guy now, because even the last 20 years he's been doing mostly jazz and fusion records. But he did a string of blues albums like in the late 90s, early 2000s, and he, like, you could tell he was a rock guy or a blues rock guy who became a jazz guy and then came back to the blues rock thing. And when he did, he had the entire like vocabulary of just like a sophisticated jazz musician under his belt. And yeah, and so when I heard that playing, like, he has one song called Dolomite off that Tore Down House album, and it's just like some of the best guitar playing like I've heard. And I realized I wanted to be able to bring in like a jazz musician's level of sophistication and of harmony, and just doing stuff outside of just like a minor pentatonic scale. And that sent me down like the path of like really trying to learn harmony, and then yeah, incorporate stuff like diminished and melodic minor, and do it in a tasteful way, where it doesn't sound like you're falling downstairs. Um,
And this
but
is learning on your own?
Partly on my own, partly with lessons, and then but then that kind of sent me down the direction of like, oh, I should go to music school to learn this. And also, when I was like 17 and 18, I had no idea what else I wanted to do with my life besides play guitar. So that's kind of let me go into music school. I got into Berklee College of Music, and I went to visit the campus there, but I just I also got accepted to a few other schools, one of which was ASU, and ASU was like far enough away from my home where like it wasn't. I was actually leaving, but it was close enough to where it's just like a 5 hour drive if I wanted to go back and visit, and so that seemed and I just the environment kind of at least on my initial visit seemed more appealing than Boston, and I wasn't a fan of the cold anyway, so ASU it was.
And so you go in and then realize, well, learning this way isn't as much fun as I thought it would be. But at that
Yeah.
point, I presume it still did help and expand your playing.
Yeah, yeah, it did. It did. It kind of forced me into like musical theory that like I was unfamiliar with, um, especially on the classical side of things. And then yeah, for jazz too. I mean, I enjoyed that part of it more, but um, I didn't love it the way I loved like blues rock. I like wanted to be able to bring in that level of that knowledge and playing, and like other players like Robin Ford, same kind of deal. He was a blues guy who went to play with Miles Davis and learned like the jazz, and then came back to blues and just was a monster player.
Right.
But so I always it, it sent me on a path to trying to gain that knowledge, which I'm still working at, and then but be able to do it in a music that I loved. So, and at least with school, it seemed like I could do that better on my own uh, than under that environment.
And looking back on it, do you still feel the same way? Do you think that was the right decision?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely do because yeah, I mean, I have a cousin who did a similar path. He went to USC, their music school, and he got his degree in music. And I don't think he's touched his guitar in 10 years.
Wow.
So he just yeah. So I yeah, and at the end of the day, for being a just um, uh, performing musician and recording musician and songwriter, having the degree doesn't necessarily do anything for you in that kind of world. It might if you want to teach music, it's great, but at least in what I'm trying to do, it doesn't necessarily give me the that kind of benefit. So
So when you decide to change your major and get out of music, did things change quickly for your attitude towards music?
yeah, I started loving it again, and I quickly joined a band afterwards with yeah with one of my friends, and we started playing around the Phoenix area shortly thereafter.
And was that Corium? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, so Corium emerged out of the first band. There were a couple bands I played with starting out, but I'm trying to even remember what we were called. I think I was in a band called Last Sanctuary, I think, and then after that, but yeah, Corium kind of emerged out of that, and yeah, it was kind of a hard rock uh, thing, and I was trying to like do a hard rock meets blues, kind of like yeah, like whiskey blues or whatever it's people call it, kind of a because I mean the metal scene, especially back then, and probably still now, the metal scene's pretty big in the Phoenix area,
Right.
and I mean, but I tried to bring kind of a bluesy southern rock feel to it, and that's kind of what Corium grew out of.
And then you released your first solo album, which we just talked about a little bit, The Chime.
Yeah.
Tell me what the thinking about that, because when I listened to it, you talked about you being a songwriter from an early age, but the challenge in that case was creating instrumental songs, and
Yeah,
I'm always intrigued by instrumentals because I don't know if I totally understand the motivation behind the whole album of instrumentals,
yeah,
and just that's just my ignorance. But I listened to that album and I was just amazed by just all the different genres you cover, all the different styles you covered. And I don't know, as a first solo album, what you were hoping to achieve, what your goal was in doing so.
yeah. So I think those were songs that um, I had kind of put together. I when I recorded that, I was doing it simultaneously when we recorded the first Until the Sun album, and that record that took like a year to record the first Until the Sun album, and I had written some instrumentals that throughout the years that I just never. I thought the either the melody kind of spoke for itself or I just never had the motivation to put words on it or lyrics on it, and I just kind of felt the music kind of stood on its own, and a lot of them at some point maybe I was wanting to incorporate them as just an instrumental in like Until the Sun, but I think when I had amassed enough of them where I'm like, I should just do an instrumental guitar album like Joe Satriani style, and and I just went into the studio and laid him down, and that album was probably recorded in uh, probably a couple days and then a few weeks to kind of mix it, but the I was doing that simultaneously with the other songs that were with my band Until the Sun for our first album with that band. And so one was kind of like, hey, this is the music I'm writing with lyrics, and then this is just an instrumental kind of thing I'm doing more for as a guitar thing. And I mean, some of it, there's some classical influence on it. There's a little bit of Spanish. There's my attempt at a jazz song, kind of, or one at least a song with a jazz feel, and then yeah, and a lot of blues rock stuff on it too. So
Did you get to play that album that much? Did you
like play it
tour with it
live.
or?
Not really because I was doing Until the Sun, and I mean once in a while we would incorporate one of the instrumentals like off of it, especially if we had like a really long show where we needed like time to kill on the show if we were doing like a 2 hour bar gig or something, and then also if at the time if my vocalist if he was sick or something I'd maybe incorporate an instrumental off of it. Um, if yeah, his voice was struggling that night, but yeah, for the most part, playing live, I was focusing on Until the Sun.
Okay, I mean, I think it's a piece of work that deserves to be heard. So,
Well, thank you.
and then I have to ask you about the sun. It's a word that comes up a lot in your musical life, whether it be Until the Sun, which is the title of the band.
Yeah.
I believe you've written a few songs.
Oh, Under the Sun is
Under
the
the,
first. Yeah, for the my new blues rock band Teskey. So the Under the Sun was when I first wrote it. It was going to be. I wrote it right before Until the Sun broke up, and I was going to title it like a self-titled song, like Bad Company, and that was. And then after Until the Sun broke up, I'm like, I don't want to call it Until the Sun and do a self-titled album for a band that no longer exists. So I changed it to Under the Sun, but it was originally going to be yeah titled Until the Sun, and then when that band broke up, like right as I was writing it, I kind of used that for my next project.
how well did Until the Sun do? I mean, you guys did 3 or 4 albums.
Yeah, yeah, we did 4 albums. We went through a lot of different singers, so that was kind of my friend Bruce started out singing on the first album, and we had kind of a guest vocalist who was part of the band for a while, and then she ended up kind of leaving, and then it was just Bruce again singing, and then after that we got Alyssa in the band. We went through a few other singers along the way, but we had the singer who sang through at least the she was on part of the songs on the second album because she joined during that recording process, and then she was the after that she was the only vocalist for the live album that we did, and then the last album Enchantment that we did. But so I mean, we went through a lot of singers, um, but yeah, I mean the yeah, I mean as far as the work we did and the songs, yeah, I mean I still like a lot of those music and that kind of what I'm doing now with Teskey is probably more of a continuation of that style of music and that writing, just as a power trio currently.
I don't know if you can describe to me how difficult it is to keep a band together.
Musicians are very often hard to work with. You have a lot of fragile uh, egos and a lot of sometimes prima donnas, and everyone has their own kind of vision of what they want. And as long as everyone has that shared vision of what kind of music we're doing and the direction of the band and what we're doing, it's usually it's usually good. I mean, but I mean sometimes you have someone who joins the band and they're great at first and then they start emotionally or psychologically unraveling or they have um, issues, and I think it's just comes with the territory of creative people, and also people willing to take a chance on things. Um, and I think, but sometimes, yeah, you get personality conflicts and creative conflicts, and it could be a challenge. And um, right now, I'm just grateful for the people I'm working with because I have an excellent bassist who we get along great, and an excellent drummer, and we get along great as well. And we all kind of have that shared vision of where we're going musically.
Is it a band? I mean, the fact that it has your last name as the name of the band, does that mean it's your band, or is it a collective band?
Well, I'm singing and playing guitar, but it's a band, so it's yeah. Everyone has a equal vote as far as I'm concerned, and it's yeah. I mean, it's we're a band. When we first started, it wasn't my idea to call it Teskey. I wanted to call it something else, and then the bass player at the time, um, who he was the last bass player from Until the Sun, so he started Teskey with me. He ended up stepping away because he had health problems, and after that he left the country. But he he wanted to call it Teskey, and I'm like, okay, I don't we can if you guys want, but like it wasn't my first choice, and yeah, the drummer Brandon Gaddy at the time seemed he was like, okay, yeah, that's cool, we'll call it Teskey. I'm like, okay. So, but yeah, it wasn't my idea, but yeah, it is a band, and I, I I want everyone to kind of do their thing and bring in their part and have their own voice. Like I don't sit back and like write the drummer's parts or the bass player's parts. I often come in with the initial song idea, like the riff and the groove or the chord progression, but I want them to have their own kind of sense of creativity with it. So I want them to kind of be both emotionally and just mentally invested in it and come up with what they want to do. Say at the end of the day, yeah, my drummer Brandon knows how to play drums better than me, and my bass player Matt knows how to play bass better than me. So I just let them do their thing, and everyone kind of brings what they can to the table.
So when you invest X number of years, and I know that there have been members going in and out of the previous band, but when you invest that kind of time into it, and I guess there's a certain amount of momentum that goes when you've done 4 or 5 albums, when that ends, and I don't know how it ends, but when that ends, what, how do you deal with that? What happens?
So I mean, when I mean it's not sometimes it's not easy when like a band that you really want you were putting everything into to succeed just falls apart. But I just kind of have always been of the mindset you just have to get back up and move forward. I was going through a lot in my life when that band broke up. So my wife got diagnosed with cancer. The band broke up, and yeah, there was. I mean, I had. I kind of had a lot on my plate. Yeah, about I guess going on a year and a half ago now. So, but my wife's in complete clinical remission, so
Good.
we're thanking God for that. She had to go through like chemotherapy and surgery, and so yeah, I mean it got scary there for a while, but that was um, a lot of the kind of inspiration by some of those songs on the latest record. For
So when you're going through all that, and I'm sorry you had to go through that, but I'm glad to hear that she's doing much better. Uh,
yeah, thank you.
is is music an escape? Like, obviously the band is no longer there, so you're not going to go out and play. I presume you're writing songs on your own while you're going through this. Is
Yeah.
music an escape for you, or a healer?
Yeah, definitely, especially writing lyrics. It's definitely, I would say both playing and, but like I'm not by nature like an emotional person really. So it's definitely my emotional outlet is writing lyrics, and I guess that's probably I guess a way for me just to express myself. So yeah, it's something like almost I guess you could call it a form of therapy, but it's writing lyrics is something basically I need. So
More so than playing guitar.
yeah, yeah, but I've always been the kind of the lyricist for almost every band I've been in, at least the primary one. So even with all the like until the Sun records, I was the one. I mean, Alyssa wrote a couple songs, but and Bruce wrote a couple songs, but for the most part, probably 95% of all of those songs I wrote the lyrics to.
Can you explain to me the process? I mean, are you actually just sitting down and writing lyrics first, not thinking about music, or are you writing lyrics while you're sitting there with the guitar and working out
Yeah,
the melody?
usually, and it's not always this way because sometimes I'll just be kind of sitting down or driving in my car or and lyrics will hit me and I have to look like at least write down this idea. But usually, how the process works for me, I have the music. I'll come up with like either a groove or chord progression and then after that, like I come up with the meter of the lyrics, how it fits, and I mean for that it could just be humming along to you could hear like how the vocal melody goes in your head, and then after that you write lyrics. At least for me, I write lyrics to that melody, so it has to fit because otherwise you could write lyrics and then they don't fit at all in the time of that before like in that chord progression. And you could still do some stuff and come up with lyrics first and then modify the lyrics to fit. But usually for the most part, I find it works easiest for me when I come up with the music and the melody first, and then at least the melody initially I have in my head. Sometimes that gets changed along the way, and then yeah, and I'll kind of bring it to the band after that, and then it often evolves from there. It sometimes doesn't have the same kind of feel or the tempo or musically it changes, or it's like hey maybe we should add a bridge, or someone has different ideas, or and sometimes even playing the song live, it evolves along the way. So but that's kind of usually how the process is, and then I think after the songs are tight, then we try to record them, and I've actually we're going back into the studio next month to record a whole nother album. We just came out with White Wolf, and I've been writing a lot of songs, and yeah, I've been uh, my I didn't even want to go into the studio because I'm like we just released this album like 3 months ago, but yeah, everyone in the band is like excited to at least initially record those. We might not put it out for another like 6 months or something or 8 months. We're gonna take our time with the mix and get everything right. But yeah, we're gonna go in and just kind of in 2 days lay down the entire record.
Do you road test this? Like, are you playing it live yet or not? These new songs.
Yeah, we started playing them live. yeah, we the last two shows or three shows we've been playing a lot of the new material live.
I find it interesting that you talk about the importance of lyrics and how what it means to you, and how much you're involved in the writing of the lyrics, because most guitar players don't talk that way. They talk
Yeah,
about, I think, the guitar,
yeah,
and also having heard you play, and the variety of things that you can do on the guitar. Obviously you've put in your hours learning how to play the guitar and playing the guitar, so it's
yeah. Thank you.
interesting that you still have this emphasis on lyrics. And then the other
Yeah.
thing is, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if you sang that much in your previous band.
No, no, I was always afraid to sing.
Okay, so
So
tell
I
me about that. Like, so you start this new band, you're writing a bunch of songs. I presume in the past you still sang them to your singers, but
yeah.
what was it like to all of a sudden try to become a singer?
So how that emerged is because I never thought I could hold a tune to save my life singing, and I was always like, okay, I'm gonna have to do the Jeff Beck thing and either play instrumental guitar or have a singer sing for me. Um, but then we played a show. I mean, it kind of started out where Alyssa, the singer for Until the Sun, she was like, I need some backup vocals. Like it would help us live a lot more if we had some of these backup vocals that, and so I just want to be able to sing through a blues song and do backup vocals, and we happened to open up for a band called Shadow and the Thrill, and then one of the other opening bands was called Acoustic Conspiracy Theory, I think, but the singer was Tony Noyes, and he I heard him sing and I could tell like not only does he have a good voice and is he a great singer, but I could tell just by listening to him he technically knows what he's doing. Like he's put a lot of like thought and he knows the technicalities behind what he's doing. And so I just went up to him after because both of our bands played at this show. And I'm like, hey, do you give singing lessons at all? Because I need to be able to sing backup vocals and I want to be able to sing my way through a blues and then I'll be happy. And he was like, yeah, sure. And so he started giving me singing lessons and coaching me through the singing. And then yeah, about the time right before I guess as the close to the band's breakup, like I was getting enough confidence where like I could do this. I could at least sing blues and get through this and not scare people off with my voice. So and then I started getting better and better. And then when the band broke up, I was still like teetering. Like I should probably get a singer, but I played after shortly after Until the Sun broke up, and when I was going through that, I contacted Brandon Gaddy, the drummer, and I knew I think he was in between bands, and I knew that he liked the music that we were doing because I knew he followed us. He had come to shows. We had played shows together with the band he was in during Until the Sun, and I knew he could play. And so I kind of just made a mental note, like, hey, if I ever need a drummer, he's gonna be the first guy I want to hit up. And I did, and he jammed, and the bass player from Until the Sun at the time, we initially formed the band, and I started singing, and they were like, yeah, you can do this, like, yeah, and they liked it enough, and if I could get a, two musicians of that caliber enough to believe in me, I'm like, okay, well maybe it's worth trying. And then the more and more I did it, I got more and more confident. I think confidence was a big thing to starting out with, and then just getting command over my voice, and then I'm still getting better and better. I'm still trying to improve it. I started practicing singing like I would practice guitar, which like hours a day, trying to improve, and that's kind of how that emerged. And then the recording process for the first album really kind of forced me to grow a lot as well. And my the singing coach Tony, he actually came to the recording sessions and he helped produce the vocals. And he's like, "Oh, try this," and he came up with a bunch of different singing ideas to try and. Um, it definitely pushed me like to the edge of my limit or beyond it, but it helped me grow a lot in the process.
I mean, that must be a difficult thing to kind of pick up late in the game. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean? It's not something you've been doing all your life, and then
yeah,
to now record an album and be the lead singer.
yeah.
But and thank God for your coach. But do you find like obviously it's hard to do everything you like to do, but are you able to navigate your way through the ideas that you have that you might hear to
Yeah,
actually execute the voice?
yeah, I am for the most part. I mean, there's some things like if I had a different range than where I'm at, I could do different stuff. But as far as the music I hear in my head and what I'm aiming at, I'm able to pull it off or at least work towards it to where I could pull it off with enough practice. I might not be able to pull off this idea or this melody the first time I attempt it, but after practicing it for like 20 hours, then I could do it and go out and execute it live and hopefully pull it off without crashing and burning. So
And you know, in having dealt with a number of singers, especially in the classical realm or the operas, I know that to them their voice is an instrument,
yeah,
and obviously the range that they can sing and whatever they have to be very careful about how they eat and how they sleep in order to execute the notes that they want to do. I know it's a little different singing the blues, but I think a lot of people automatically think, oh, you open your mouth and you sing.
yeah.
Have you has learning your voice as an instrument has that been an adjustment in any way?
Yes, it was and especially like the first 6 to 8 months of singing, much more so. But yeah, I mean, you have some days like where you're like, I feel like I could hit any note in key, and I'm like, I'm on top of the world with being able to sing. And then the next day, you're just trying to hit hit the note of the song on like a chorus or something, and just like teetering or failing to get there. And then, but I think a lot of it's practice and getting more command over your voice. But yeah, it's I'm much more mindful of yeah, like what I eat before a maybe not a practice, but before a show definitely. And then also uh, like usually yeah, like once a week I'll usually smoke a cigar. Usually with my dad we'll I'll have a cigar, but I won't do that at all before a show, even days before a show. And then yeah, and then also I started drinking like honey in my coffee, and that I think honey helps your voice. And there's just some tips that you pick up that make it easier. So
And has your writing changed because of the fact that you're the one who's singing it now? Has the way you write your songs
I
changed?
don't I don't think so. I mean, a lot of times when I wrote before, like with Alyssa singing, I would write the lyrics and then I would have to rewrite it from a female perspective, and that sometimes took some mental gymnastics to try and do. But yeah, for um, I think overall it hasn't really changed because I always kind of came into it at the time with my very like limited voice, and um, now I kind of for the most part write the same as I guess I have been for as years before.
Okay, you just described it as a limited voice. Has that limit changed over the last little while as you sing more and more?
Oh yeah, yeah, it's yeah, and I hope it continues to keep growing because it's yeah, I couldn't even as far as being able to pull it off live, like on the spot. I couldn't. I could never. I would never be able to do that flawlessly in the first like uh, 6 months. It was like almost like the first show I did. It was like maybe like 80% of the notes were like pitch perfect and on point or where I'd be happy with them. and then the next show maybe 85%, and then the next show 90%. And yeah, just my command over singing has definitely improved, and I hope it continues to improve. And then yeah, eventually, yeah, then you're hitting almost every note, and the one time you hit a bad note, you're kind of upset. So
I wonder how your guitar, like, it must be so weird to spend all that time on stage for so many years not singing, and then all of a sudden you're the
yeah,
front guy,
yeah.
right? Becoming a singer and a main vocal focus of the band changed the way you play your guitar?
Yeah, yeah. So that, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to do the power trio thing, because it gives more space to the singing. But if everyone in a power trio is locked on, it sounds bigger than like a five piece.
Right.
So if everyone is like just dead on, it just kind of, it has this huge sound to it. Like you think of like Cream or like Jimi Hendrix Experience or Buddy Guy back in the day. They just had this like enormous sound with a very small group of people. And I mean, even Led Zeppelin was essentially a three-piece musically with a vocalist. So um, and then so that helps to kind of create space, but it's definitely, it took a lot of practice to be able to sing and play and like switch effect pedals and remember lyrics and do all that flawlessly while remaining in the correct key. And
All these little
so
important things.
yeah, no, I mean it definitely it took a lot of practice to kind of to get there. So, I mean, one thing, I got a switcher for my pedal board, where I just like push one button and it turns on any combination of pedals I want that are preset into like a patch. And like I never had that before. I just did like the old school pedal board. I got my pedals on the floor, and but now I'm like I can't look down at the floor, sing, remember lyrics, and play at the same time, and then tap dance all over the stage, trying to turn two pedals off and one pedal on or anything like that. So I got that, and that helped out. So I could just push a button, and it turns on the combination of pedals I want. So um, yeah. So I mean, there's just a lot of stuff that you have to adapt to. But I mean, that's another reason I like the power trio thing, is you're so mentally engaged in it. Like it's when you're in like a five piece band or something and you make a mistake, all the other guys are covering for you, and usually the mistake just kind of blends in. If you make a mistake in like a power trio, though, it sounds like someone just threw a hand grenade inside a piano. So yeah, it kind of forces you to mentally be there in the moment and 100% kind of engaged, or else you're gonna get into trouble quick.
How easy is it to start a new band like Teskey? And I don't know if you automatically bring in the people who are your followers with Until the Sun or not. Like if that automatically happens, like is
I
it
know it. I knew it happened to an extent, but I don't know to the full amount of if the entire following kind of gravitated towards us or not.
like
I
so
know,
in your mind you're thinking this is a brand new band. How do I get
yeah.
like so how do you get your audience to come to you? How did you reestablish that?
So I mean, just playing shows, recording the album, and trying to promote it as best we can, and then yeah, we have our PR agent, Doug, and he's excellent. So yeah, he kind of does a lot of work to try and spread the word and get us radio play and get us yeah, interviews, and get us like reviews written up. So but yeah, it's basically to an extent starting from scratch.
I mean, does it
So
still feel that way after all these months?
well, I think we're starting to see some traction and gaining more and more of a following. So yeah, and I mean the album's only been out for like 2.5 months now, I believe. So it's just kind of starting to pick up, and but yeah, we're seeing more and more people following us, and every time we play a show, the audience seems to like it, and there's yeah, we gain more and more people, I think. So
My final question to you is, do you have goals at this point in your
yeah,
career? Can you maybe share with me what your musical goals are?
yeah. Well, I mean, right now I want to definitely want to get this new album recorded, promote the one that we're doing as much as possible, and um, my immediate goals would probably be to be able to open for like nationals and do some tours, even if they're like smaller tours, like a week here and a week there, spread out, um, and yeah, just I mean a lot of the goals for last year are coming to fruition because we're playing like some festivals coming up. We're playing the Woody Stock Festival in Lake Havasu. We're playing the Arizona State Fair coming up in about a month, and then yeah, we're doing some small tours into California as well, and trying to line up some in Texas too. So
Nice.
yeah,
Well, Brandon, thank you so much for taking this time. And, you know,
yeah. Thank you for having me.
I've spent the last few days listening to your stuff, and like I said, I'm quite impressed with the way you play, the different things that you play, and really like the new album. So, thanks for being on.
Well, thank you for having me, and yeah, anytime. Yeah.